80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
From your experience of doing NLP, at least for the past few decades, right? What is the 20% of concepts you felt like really made a big difference to you when it comes to your own self-improvement?
It's like what I mentioned in the previous podcast just now. I would say one of the most powerful things I learned was we create our thoughts and we create our emotions from our thoughts. So a lot of people, they don't control their thoughts. Their thoughts are on autopilot. So you have to learn to control your thoughts. Now, how do you think? We think by asking questions to ourselves and by the pictures we play in our minds. So again, every morning, like I said earlier on, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you say to yourself? Are you aware? Most people are not aware, right? But if you start to be conscious about it, you realize that, yeah, in the morning when you wake up, you do have self-talk. Like some people, they wake up in the morning and the first question is, how much longer can I sleep? And if you ask that question, what are you focusing on? You're focusing on going back to sleep, and that puts you into a lazy state. So questions direct your focus, focus affect your feelings, right? But if you wake up in the morning and the first question you ask is, what can I achieve today? You know, what's exciting to do today? Your state changes, right? You start focusing on doing things. You start feeling great. So NLP is about being aware of the thoughts that in your head, the pictures you're playing, all right, and what you're saying to yourself. It's like some people have this pattern also of always imagining the worst case scenario, right? So let's say the market crashes and they start to imagine, oh my God, the market keeps going down, I'm going to lose all my money, I'm going to be back, right? And they start making all these terrible pictures in their head, you know? But if you visualize and you see, hey, in the long run, the stock's going to come back, it's going to go higher, and that changes your state. So, yeah, that's one of the most powerful things.
Yeah. You talked a lot about Tony Robbins, right? I see.
And in this framework, it's called the ultimate success formula, right? So the whole framework is about, number one, being clear about what you want, right? You know, setting very, very clear goals. And you've got to focus on the goals every single day, right? Number one. Number two is knowing how to develop a strategy to achieve that goal. And the way to develop that strategy is to, again, model, is to find people who have already achieved what you want to achieve and model them. So you cut short your learning curve. And the third key is about taking massive action. Is how do you motivate yourself every day to take action? You know? And when you take action, you either move to your goals or not. Right? So if you don't move to your goals, that's called, people call it failure. We call it learning experience. So how do you reframe that? How do you take so-called failure and how do you reframe it into a learning experience? And how do you have the flexibility to keep changing your strategy? That if what you do doesn't work, you have to change your approach. It doesn't work, change your approach. Keep changing until you find what works, right? And then the other part of it is your belief systems, right? Because your beliefs affect the goals you set. The beliefs affect your behavior. So you have to examine what are the beliefs you have right now. And some people have very limiting beliefs. Like some people have this belief that other people can do it, I cannot do it. Because they're better than me, they're smarter than me. Or some people have this belief that, because in Singapore it's very restricted, I can't, a lot of limiting, or the belief that I need a lot of capital to start a business. Who says so, right? Or the limiting belief that I must be good in math to be an investor. Who says that, right? So it's examining your beliefs and being able to break those limiting beliefs and having new beliefs that empower you. And then the other part is what we call your value systems. Your values are why you do what you do. It's like two people may want to make $10 million, but they have different why. It's your why. So one person, the why may be to show off, whatever, right? Another person, the why may be to use the money to contribute to their church or their temple, whatever. So a lot of people, the trouble is they may know what they want, they don't know why they want it. They're not clear on their reason. Yeah. So if you get all these things in place, then you can achieve almost anything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Pattern fund manager like Cathy Wood.
That was actually being very sarcastic, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. I know.
Yeah. So answer is no. I've got no intention and no desire to that because I don't want to manage people's money. It's too much
Interesting.
headache.
You don't want to manage
I
people's
don't want to manage people's money. It's too much headache. And here's the thing. If I were to manage people's money, I don't think I can get as good results as I'm doing now. Okay, I tell you why. Because when you manage people's money, you can't control the fund flows. You can't control when people put in money. You can't control when they redeem the money. Okay? So, and I've got friends who are fund managers, so they tell me these problems. Okay? So, for example, in COVID, the early part of COVID 2020, the market crashed, right? That's the best time to buy. So that's when I was buying like crazy. But a lot of my fund manager friends told me that during the COVID, a lot of the top bank CIOs were bearish on the market. They expected it to go down even more. Most people were very pessimistic. They said it'll take years to recover. And a lot of clients panicked and redeemed their money. They pull out of the hedge fund. So mention your hedge fund manager. You want to buy, right? But your clients all redeem. Then when they redeem, you have to return their money. You're forced to sell. So you end up forced to sell at the bottom, right?
Lock in your loss.
Yeah. And then you redeem, the clients take the money because they panic, right? Then later when the market go up and the market like starting to get overpriced, then people all want to come in already and they deploy their money. So you as a fund manager got all this money, right? You have to deploy, right? But it's overpriced. But you're forced to deploy because if you don't deploy, they will be scolding you. Why aren't you using your money?
Oh, wow.
So by being a fund manager and you can't control the fund flows, sometimes you are forced to buy at the top and sell at the bottom. So the reason why a lot of fund managers may underperform the market, sometimes it's not their fault. Although sometimes it is. But the other times it's not their fault because they can't control the fund flows.
Wow.
You know?
What's the point of a fund manager?
You know what I'm saying? But I manage my money, alright, it's my money. When it's drop your pay, I buy. When it's top, I don't buy. You know? And of course the other thing is that 70% of investing is psychology. When it's my money, okay, and the market's crashing, I'm cool. But if you're managing people's money, the auntie, uncle call, the market crash, and they every day, it will affect you, you know, and you start to panic, you know. No thank you. No thank you. I don't know. No, that's why I keep saying that, you know, happiness is not a goal to be achieved. Like a lot of people say that when I buy that car, I'll be happy. When I win the lottery, I'll be happy. When I make that first 5 million, I'll be happy, right? But if you define it that way, what happens is that you may be happy for a while, then the happiness doesn't last. Then you have to find something else again to get to be happy, and then it doesn't last again. And in the process of achieving it, that journey, you're not happy all the way because you're not there yet, right? Which is insane because if you define it that way, that means 99.9% of your life, you're unhappy because you're always pursuing something that will make you happy, okay? So to me, I believe don't achieve to be happy. Instead, happily achieve. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the process.
Got it. On that note, all right, yeah, thanks so much, Adam, for coming on this podcast. Do you have any?
Are easygoing and are generous. So I said, keep away from negative and toxic people. I avoid these people like the plague. Once someone is toxic, negative, I just avoid them. I don't care how smart they are. I don't care what connections they have. I don't care what great partner. No, it's not worth it.
You talk about connections, right? So I know you're in YPO,
Yeah.
and obviously you have many friends who are in a high net worth figure, right?
I was one of the youngest members. Of course, not anymore. Right? I was one of the youngest members, and I was actually quite intimidating for me. Because I mean, you go in there and they're all much older, right? They're all like 40s and 50s and 60s and all that, and they're all, of course, much richer as well. But one of the things that I realized they all have in common is they're very optimistic people. They're very optimistic, and that's why they're successful. They all come from very different backgrounds. Like one of my close friends in there, he's an asset manager. He manages investments, very, very successful asset manager. And he actually trained to be a chef initially. He went to culinary school. Then later went into banking and then now owns his own asset management company. Another friend of mine also owns a $1 billion hedge fund. Okay? His background, microbiology. Okay? So what I realized about all these people was very different paths. Very different paths, but they're all very optimistic. They're all like can do everything, can. There's no such thing as cannot do. You know? And that's what makes them, that's why they're there. And like you all said earlier on, they are very good at people. They are very good at reading people and relationships. Yeah. And the interesting thing is that in my group, because in YPO we are put into small groups of 10 people, we call it a forum, and we meet every month. And my group, we've been together now since 2009. And I think one of the things that I really learned from them is also the humility part of it. Yeah. I mean, in my younger days, I used to be a bit show off. I used to drive a sports car and all that, right? And then when I joined the group, I realized that, like one of my friends, this guy, I mean, he's like almost a billionaire, all right? And guess what he drives? He rides a scooter. Yeah. And another guy, his family business is like a 150-year-old family business. I mean, these guys are worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and he takes Grab. He doesn't even have a car. So that's the point where in my mind, I was like, then why do I need a car? So that's why now I don't have a car as well. Right? I say, this guy who has got $500 million doesn't even have a car. This guy's riding a scooter. Why do I need a car, right? So that also matured me a lot. Then I realized when you're with people who are really very wealthy, they don't care about all this stuff. Yeah.
How different or similar would you describe